Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Sunday, March 4th, 2018. Thank you everybody for tuning in to our Sunday hangout. Basically, we're going to go ahead and go over a couple things from the weekend and what's going on right now. And quickly, we'll just jump over to SPACEWEATHER.com and check out some stats. Our solar wind speed is sitting at 358.3 kilometers per second with a density of 7.9. We are blank again as there are no sunspots Earth facing. Sunspot 0, that is the first day of 0 sunspots in a row, of course. Starts a new streak. We've got 29 days without sunspots in 2018 so far. That's 46% of the year without sunspots. KP indices are sitting at a 1, a 24-hour max of 3, and we'll go ahead and go back to GrandSolarMinimum.com to take a look at our SDO for any coronal holes that we might have. And it does not appear that we have any very large coronal holes developing right now. We are keeping our eyes open on some spotty coronal holes that are now becoming Earth facing and should receive some, let's see if NOAA's predicting any forecast of solar wind speed. They're saying March 8th is when we might see some activity from these coronal holes that are now turning Earth facing. And if you guys look over here in the eastern limb of the sun, you will see a little bit, like as I mentioned yesterday, it's getting a little bit brighter. So chances are we will be seeing AR 2701 within the next 24 to 48 hours. But we will keep our eyes on that as well to see if that develops into anything major. Right now, nothing. Also, taking a look real fast at our TSI data, and this comes in for the date of, I think it's February 24th. Yes, February 24th, our total solar radiance was sitting at a 1361.093. So hanging on to dear life as far as sticking around for 1361. It is trying to lower to the 1360s. A few more months we might start seeing values in that section. Moving on here, lots to go over with going to watchers.com, or I'm sorry, watchers.news, and I wanted to bring tropical storm, I don't even know if I should try this one, Dumazile. I like that. Thank you, Mari.
Yeah, you know.
Dangerously close to Madagascar. Tropical storm Dumazile formed very close to Madagascar at 0 UTC on March 3rd, 2018. It's the 5th named storm of 2017-18 Southwest Indian Ocean cyclone season and the 11th named storm of the 2017-18 Southern Hemisphere tropical cyclone season. On average, the Southern Hemisphere has 19 named storms between July and March 2nd. The system will pass very close to Madagascar over the next couple of days while strengthening to a Category 3 hurricane equivalently, or possible even a Category 4. Strong winds and heavy rain are expected, as well as dangerous seas along the eastern shores of the island. So it just seems like no matter where you look at what part of the globe we're looking at floods, cyclones, snowstorms, you name it. Waylon does not approve.
Where is he?
He's over here. He does not approve of this cyclone near Madagascar. I don't either, buddy. Looking at the mess that Riley left here, powerful nor'easter produces major flooding, leaves 1.6 million homes without power. This picture says it all, folks. Down power lines, tree lines, it's a mess. They're saying the storm is expected to continue affecting the region into early Saturday. Obviously, this is a day old. But today, some of the flooding is starting to recede a little bit. 3,000 domestic flights were canceled yesterday, along with dozens of, well, they're saying right now, as of today, the worst affected power outage area is Pennsylvania with over 427,000 customers. New York still has around 360,000 customers without power. Maryland with 243, New Jersey with 164, and Virginia with 151,000 people without power. and as we go through watchers.com, there is so much footage. Mari did a brief video yesterday that covered Riley, and honestly, she did a 6-minute video and tried to get as much as possible in it. There is just footage piling it everywhere, and I really thank the watchers for putting these videos and pictures together. This is easy access because I know they probably have to dig like we do, and it takes a few hours to find footage and pictures and videos. You know, when Mari and I make our productions, we try to find the most accurate and you know, current footage that you can possibly use. This is a scary flight right here. The airplane coming in for landing. We also heard about the mini plane that came in for landing. The turbulence was so bad, the entire crew threw up. Pilots almost lost their lunch. It was the math, basically. It was the math. That's Marty from The Campaign, a movie with Will Ferrell and Marty Huggins.
Oh, here we go.
And he likes to say it was a math. Make sure you bring your brooms because it was a math. But anyway, just showing pictures, satellite pictures of Riley as it departs. As you see here, it's moving away from the coast. Finally. And of course, we have another storm to talk about, which we'll get to that here soon. And here's something that I wanted to bring Mari on board with here as far as talking about volcanoes. We've covered this 6.0 aftershock before. This is the fourth magnitude 6 or higher since we've had the 7.5 on February 25th. Now, this picture right here, I'm going to see if I can click on that without, nope, I can't. Okay. I wanted to make it a little bit bigger, no biggie. But this picture right here reminds me of images from Peru, and you sent me something the other day from Saudi Arabia. Was that an earthquake or was that a landslide? What was the...
That was an earth fissure, and I don't know the exact date of it. I'll have to look it up. I was thinking about doing a video of all the weird cracks in the earth.
Well, you talk about fissures, and there's a couple pictures. Like this one right here reminds me of a fissure. And that's kind of what we saw in Saudi Arabia, just this one long, continuous, deep crack that goes all the way through.
The one I saw, it was like near the tectonic plates, and it looked like the whole continent looked like it was slowly drifting apart. I'll do a video. It's
awesome.
hard to show it without looking at it. So yeah, but these the Basavi volcano is smack dab in the center of where this earthquake activity is in Papua New Guinea, and this has been well, they called it extinct but dormant volcano, and it's showing signs of awakening. So signs of awakening, it's smoking. So yes, it's awakening. So and
let's talk about that real quick. When you say extinction, I mean, when a volcano hasn't gone off in 200,000 years, that to me is an appropriate word.
Yeah,
extinction.
I think it's
dormant
fine.
is.
You know, we always get corrected by people, and I'll like swing it both ways. So people, I don't like being. It's like the guy who said our seasons. We were liars because we called Winter Storm Riley a winter storm.
Well, and
because of the meteorology,
right?
You know,
today, yeah,
even
March 1st.
The Weather Channel called it winter storm. Okay.
Yeah,
anyway.
March 1st. Just for those of you who don't know, March 1st signals the meteorological spring. So he is correct to a degree.
Using astronomical, sorry.
Right. Fortunately, we go by the 21st of March for our season to change over.
Oh dear.
And other dates as well. June 21st. We go by the solstice. But anyway, yeah, you can't please everybody. It says here there were 156 deaths at least, and 10 villages covered in debris after massive landslides. Now that's just from that 7.5 earthquake that they had not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. Actually, it's barely over a week. So just, another 6.1 magnitude earthquake hit today. That's the fourth 6.0. We had a map up when we were showing this the other night, and it showed literally the area was just littered with earthquakes. But here's some more footage of the damage. You see the cracks in the landscaping. There's landslides right here. This is a mountainous rural area, so we'll continue to see such things Great footage here. And I think he's just showing the areas, you can't see my cursor, but he's zooming in where the landslides have been happening out here due to these earthquakes. You know, with Riley and earthquakes and volcanoes, and, you know, folks don't realize this, but these storms are changing the face of this planet. Literally reshaping the landscape, the coastlines. I mean, the erosion from Riley was incredible. I can't get over the scene that they showed on the Weather Channel where the neighborhood was completely inundated with rocks and debris from the bottom of the ocean. So stuff that probably has been miles out to the sea is now inland and is in the way of folks doing their normal everyday thing right now. And from what I understand, the cleanup has only begun, and which leads me to my next one. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we left this particular topic?
This particular area where there has been quite a few deaths, the information has been trickling in slowly because of how rural the area is. So, you know, it's taken them some time to have a true assessment as to the damage and everything. I know the leaders of that country, last I looked, they're calling this catastrophic damage for this area that's very rural but still has affected a decent amount of people.
I mean, 150,000 people remain in urgent need of emergency supplies. 7,000 people were affected by the quake damaging or destroying their homes. 147,000 are in severe need of food and water and sanitation. So it's these rural areas that I think we worry the most, because it's harder to get supplies and things of that nature to these remote locations. So when you have disasters like this happening in remote areas, just like Puerto Rico, and hopefully we haven't forgot about those folks. I'd like to actually do a follow-up video. There's got to be some kind of progress with power outages. Hopefully they figured out a way to restore power to most of the island. But it's places like Puerto Rico, you're like, oh, don't make it bigger what it is. But Puerto Rico, let's face it, folks, they're out there in the middle of the ocean. It's not like you can just load up a semi-truck full of supplies and food and send it down the railway or down the highway. You know, they got to fly this supplies in. A lot of people were angry about how fast or how slow the reaction for Maria was in Puerto Rico, and I don't think that any government would efficiently and quickly know how to react when you're dealing with a storm that took out an entire island. Basically, all the power went down, flooding everywhere. People lost their lives. Infrastructure is damaged for a long time. And when you're dealing with these disasters in these remote locations, these are some of the challenges. And like, this is just the beginning of what we're seeing right now with this grand solar minimum, just really barely getting going right now. So buckle up, folks. It's about to get even more bumpier than what it has been.
We actually, James in our chat, he's been out of power for 36 hours due to the storm here on the East Coast.
Wow, 36 hours. And that's real. There's been, I think the number has fallen from 1.6 million down to 1 million, but still, we're only a day out from the storm, and there's going to be lots of folks. I can only imagine the places where the power lines are down and the transformers are blown and all that stuff. I remember there was a windstorm that we had in southwest Ohio back in 2009, and I believe it was Hurricane Ike came through and took down power lines and power for weeks in our area. There was no rain, there was no storm with it. It was just a severe wind event, and it took over a week for us to return power because there was not enough transformers in our region to supply the need of replacement. And the transformers were blown because these power lines were arcing, they were being blown out. It wasn't just as plain as power lines coming down. These transformers were blowing up. They would come out and make minor repairs and basically overloaded the transformers and led to their final demise. Like I said, it took us a week. We had to get transformers donated from Michigan and utility workers from Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky to help restore power to the Dayton area, Cincinnati area during that storm. So anyway, I wanted to go over to tropical tidbits like always, and I wanted to show you guys what we got coming up. I know we go over this just about every time we go on live, but it also seems every time we do a live update, we do have some minor changes. Starting right now where we are, We see Winter Storm Quinn getting quite big in the northern plains, snow covering most of Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and of course parts of Iowa and Idaho are still seeing the effects from Quinn. More rain to the area of Mississippi Valley and Ohio Valley. It's coming as we move forward into Monday, midday into Tuesday. We see that low pressure system once again, the southeast getting pounded with more rain and severe weather possible with this storm as well. Now by Tuesday, we have this storm system that should be out to the east coast, as you see here, South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina. You guys are going to see all that rain, the panhandle of Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. Moving through Wednesday, the Northeast starts to see a return of winter weather, more precipitation. Eastern Pennsylvania, you're going to get snowfall as the day progresses. The Great Lakes, Wisconsin, and further into Ohio Valley, you'll start off with rain and then go into a rain-snow mix. But by the time we get to Thursday, which is when the storm is really going to fire up, you see the low pressure system setting up again on the coast near Pennsylvania, New York City, New Jersey, the same area that was just dealing with coastal flooding. As we move through Thursday, we see the storm getting bigger, making more progression. Now, here's something interesting on the back end of this. If you guys look at the Great Lakes here in Michigan and western New York and northeast Ohio, this is actually lake effect snow. And the reason why we're seeing lake effect snow in March is that right now, especially in the western New York area, our lakes are at 26% ice. That's dropped 50% in the last 2 weeks. So any kind of winds blowing from that direction and the air's cold enough with the moisture from the lake, we're definitely going to see some lake effects. So this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, western New York, Pennsylvania, we're looking at lake effect snows that could last through the weekend. And you see we get a little bit of lull on Friday. It redevelops off and on. Basically, the Northeast is going to get steady to light snow falling most of the weekend through Friday. And again, like I said, this lake effect snow system, you can see it taking place here in western New York and western Pennsylvania and northeast Ohio. Meanwhile, back in the Northwest, more snow in the mountains and the higher elevations, more rain to the west coast as well, and that low pressure system, Quinn, or our next nor'easter, possibly. We're not saying yet if it will be, but right now, its setup is very eerily similar. So let's hope that this is just a low that pushes off into sea, and that's all we see of that. But going through the weekend, snow off and on through the northeast, more moisture for the south and southeast again. Through Saturday, heavy storms moving into central Florida, and a big low pressure system starting to build up again in the Mississippi Valley, and this is Sunday. So we go from Wednesday to Sunday, more moisture, and right up that Ohio River, Mississippi River Valley by the time we get to Sunday, March 11th. So the southeast, Ohio Valley, you guys are going to continue to stay soggy. Now, like I talked about yesterday, taking a look, watching this system moving in on the west coast, California, Seattle, Washington, Oregon. You guys are going to be very drenched beginning of next week, March 12th and beyond. And of course, the southeast. Now, here's something I did notice. Back over here to the east coast, early following week, and again, this is still far ways out, but this storm right here on the coast, this low pressure system, is tracking farther south. A few days ago, this part of the weather system was actually going to hit the northeast again. So folks in New York and New England areas and Maine, looks like we may get a break from snow on that next system where it may miss the northeast all entirely and just kind of scrape the coastlines. But again, this is still far out. This is the 13th of March. But again, the pattern of the stormy situation in the northwest is continuing. Snow showers, rain, you name it. It does look like we see a little bit of a lull in some weather on the 15th, but that looks like our only boring day of the month so far is March 15th. And quickly, as you see, another low pressure system builds and moves across the country, across the Midwest. And they're talking here another big snowstorm possibly for our northern plains, Midwest, and possibly Northeast as we watch this thing towards the end of the month, March 20th. Again, this is way far out. It's very scattered. The models are kind of everywhere. But what I've noticed, temperatures are going to stay cool in the east, the Ohio Valley, and the northern plains. Almost kind of like a similar pattern that we had back in December, but not quite as cold. One thing that has remained the same is that these storms are continuing. As Thor News would say, these are coming in wave after wave after wave after wave. So a lot of weather to keep up with. A lot of weather overseas to keep up with. I just can't believe the footage that we've seen from Riley. The damage, the snowfall. Today I finished shoveling. Yes, I still had shoveling to do today from our snowfall. We got about 14 inches of snow on the ground easily. I thought that some of it would melt. I had to dig out my car today, and Mari and I, we were stocked for the weekend for the storm. We had plenty of supplies. But today I spent another hour, and, you know, kind of, that's what I get for procrastinating. And a lot of that snow had turned into ice. So still a big frozen mess out here in western New York and most of the Northeast as well. But it does not look like we do not get a break from any of these storm systems within the next 7 to 10 days. So it does look consistent to me. And March is going to be wet just like spring normally is, right, Mari? Let's see how much water we can tread, though, because the majority of the country right now, I'd say the only parts that we're looking at that's dry that really needs this rain is like southern Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, western Texas. You guys need some rain really bad, and I'd be more than happy to donate some of this moisture to you guys. But other than that, the rest of the country stays wet and wild, really, if you ask me. So, all right, Mari, would you like to add anything before we head off here tonight?
People are just talking about Callie in the chat about the wet weather coming their way, what's going to happen with the dams. We have a request for an Orville Dam update. I know that they've engineered a fix to that. I don't know how well that's been holding. I haven't checked on that for a while.
It's been doing well.
Is it?
Yes. Okay. But when you talk about 6 feet of snow in one event, and we're going to get some melt here soon for the warmer temperatures in the springtime, Cali is definitely an area we need to watch, just with all the forest fires, mudslides, the rains that we're going to get. And I believe their rainy season's almost over. So really anything that we get past their rainy season is extra and above grand solar minimum. I hate to be that guy, but increased cosmic rays will allow more particles for moisture to grab onto, forming drops, heavier drops, bigger drops, more raindrops, just like the story over there in Queensland, Australia. They got 14 inches of rain in 24 hours.
Oh, you know, Kenya, just if you go to sat.net, they reported heavy rainfall in Nairobi, Kenya. I mean, it's crazy, the footage coming out of Kenya right now, the floods. I'll probably make a video on that for you guys to see. Going on, that goes hand in hand with all the other weirdness going on. So.
All right, guys, we hope you had a great weekend. We hope you got something out of our broadcast tonight. Please like and share, subscribe. Get this information out to your friends and family, folks. It's time we really start paying attention. If anything, we know that the weather is crazy, and we all need to prepare. I don't think there's an area in the United States where you can say, I'm not going to get hit by any of this. You will get some form of this craziness in one way or another. All right, guys, we'll talk soon.